Oh, Connor's in charge, setting the recording for episode 43. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We got a new little bit of a layout here. We're missing Adam once again because, as
He
everybody
doesn't like
knows,
us. I
he
think we
hates
just have
us.
to
Yeah,
accept
I think
that.
he's over it. I think he's done. No, I'm just kidding. He's got a family thing. He's off doing family stuff like a loser. No, I'm just kidding. He'll be back soon. We'll have more chats with him. We only really have one more episode after this. We're going to do the big MLS quiz of 2020, and then it's off season. Then we'll, follow us on social media for our updates and takes on transfers and roster decisions. But we won't have much else to talk about. Maybe come back a little early for Champions League, the start of Champions League next year. But there's not much left to talk about this season. One full season. It'll be 44 episodes. We really only missed a couple weeks, even with the whole lockdown. That's pretty impressive. It's been one heck of a year, but we're not going to be all sad and reminiscent just yet. We've still got another week to go. But we've got a whiteboard because the GRE makes you use whiteboards when you're at home, and this is all I had today. So now I'm turning it into a podcast prop. So as you can see, it's episode 43. What are we talking about today? MLS Cup reactions, of course. Biggest game of the year. Finished up as a screamer. We'll give our thoughts and reactions on that in our little breakdown. I forgot what I'm going to talk about. What are we going to look at? That's right. Trade day wrap-up. Big half-day trade window because MLS is MLS, and we're going to open a trade window, but only for 12 hours. That's it. No more, no less. And Austin FC, newcomers to the league next year, were big movers today, and I like a lot of the moves that they've made. We'll talk about those today. And finally, we'll give a few more end-of-the-year roundups. I know we did a few of them a couple weeks ago, but we'll talk more about, goal of the year, save of the year, shock player of the year, shock team of the year, good and bad. We'll do things like that. But other than that, that's all I've got to say about what we're doing. But, of course, we got to go to Scarf of the Week. Why? Because it matters. Go on,
Now
Connor.
it does.
It does now.
All right, so I'm breaking out the new Atlanta scarf that I got. I don't think I've shown this yet, but oh man, it's impossible to see.
Big.
There we go.
Big. There you go.
And then
that's how you ripped off the Metro. 404. Is that the area code?
You're asking me like I live there.
I mean, listen, it's your team. You should know.
I'm assuming that's the area code. But
that's fresh.
yeah.
I like that. That's a really nice scarf.
It is a nice one.
To it.
I like it more than my other Atlanta scarf. So,
I mean, after you wear something 900 times, you kind of get over it, right? For me, I know we're not an EPL podcast, but when the most overrated team in England gets beat by the best team in England, you got to break out. The scarf for the boys, up the toffees, baby.
I didn't realize you guys played Arsenal.
No, we played Chelsea, the most overrated team in England.
I don't know how you can call anybody but Arsenal
the
most overrated team right now.
That's fair. Arsenal's awful. Arsenal's awful, right? But they're not MLS. We don't care. I mean, they might be MLS quality, but we don't care right now. So let's just jump right into MLS Cup final reactions. Connor, give your initial thoughts, right? So Columbus go in there with no Darlington Nagbe, who we have time and time again said is the single best center mid in the league, bar none. And Pedro Santos is one of their best attacking threats against Seattle, who has a full team, who has won 2 of the last 4 and been in 3 of the last 4 MLS Cups. And they just riot and just ran over defending champion Seattle. They went out and outplayed them, which is crazy. Initial thoughts?
I mean, you don't get more initial than just looking at the 2 lineups that they put out. You look at the Seattle team, which is unchanged from the game prior when they played against Minnesota. And then you look at Columbus, who's missing their best midfielder, and I would say their best player this entire season. And then who are their replacements for them? Okay, you bring in Diaz, I guess.
Yeah, Diaz on that
Diaz, yeah, who is definitely a serviceable player. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that he's at the level of Pedro Santos, but he can do a job, certainly. And then you look at Nagby's replacement, and it's 19-year-old Aiden Morris, and you're like, what are they doing? But then, after the first goal went in against Seattle, I kind of like thought about it again and looked back at Seattle's starting lineup, and I'm like, this is the same starting lineup that was getting destroyed by Minnesota. So I really shouldn't have put as much faith in them, but because like I mean, last time I had problems with their fullbacks, and then they go and they use the same lineup again, and guess what? They had problems again with their fullbacks. So my initial reaction was to go with Seattle because I mean that's what pretty much anybody outside of Ohio was thinking. And but Columbus just has more depth than I think we gave them credit for, and their guys stepped up big time, and they played probably the best game that they've played all year, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And I asked you at the start of the game while we were trying to set up a live stream that didn't work. I asked you at the start of the game, Caleb Porter's experience versus Seattle Sounders experience. And you kind of didn't understand what I meant by that, but this is exactly what I meant was Seattle Sounder, been here before, know how to handle these types of games, versus Caleb Porter, who knows how to handle these games, and one or two players who have been in MLS Cup before. And I was very, very sold on Caleb Porter. I think he is a very, very solid tactical coach and understands how to motivate his players. If you watch any of Crew for the last 4 months, maybe, however long we've been going after.
Whoops.
That's right. I had the alarm go off too. So yeah, you watch Crew in the last 4 months, you can hear him every game yelling and screaming and motivating and doing all the things that a very, very good coach can do. And that is why I really trusted him in this scenario, because I felt that even though they were clearly the underdogs, missing some of their best players, they were definitely deep, and they got back a lot of the players that they lost in the first two rounds from that COVID scare, right? So Room was back, who was phenomenal. Etienne Jr., Red Bull GOAT, right? Comes back and slots one home and is all over the place. And, just getting players like that back were really big for them because it gave them a spark. To me, I saw that they gave a spark that Seattle wasn't ready for, right? Seattle watched film and prepped for Andrew Tarbell and, Diaz on one side, Emma Boateng on one side, like these players who don't necessarily fit the same mold, right? So I applaud Caleb Porter for his ability to form a lineup that is resilient in what they had to do. On the flip side, with Seattle in their roster, I was very, very shocked to see, and we spoke about this last night, where Alex Roldan got the crap beat out of him in Minnesota. You've got Kelvin Leerdam, who's been one of the better outside backs all season. You've got Brad Smith, who older but is better forward and defensively, I think, than Roldan, because Roldan is a center mid. And you're trying to convert him to an outside back, which is great, fine. But you're in the biggest game of the season. Maybe go with some more experience there. You've got outside backs in these positions. You got Nuhu, who is a great defensive asset, but is still kind of a liability in terms of the way he plays and when he chooses to take his opportunities to go forward, right? Leaves him exposed a little bit. Gustav Svensson, not in the game, and it was Roldan and João Pedro, and João Pedro kind of had a stinker. But to me, the biggest thing that you saw was the front three not clicking. That Seattle front three that has been so dangerous all year couldn't find the net to save their life. And that was what it came down to. When Zelarayan, Etienne, Zardes, when everybody went forward, they found the net. When Seattle went forward, they found Rosick, and that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Home field advantage comes in and pays off, and we can go and break down, and we probably would have if we were doing it before. But you can go and break down decisions and certain plays, but at the end of the day, what it really came down to was Seattle couldn't hit the target.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about what you said. I was actually just looking it up, and the game against Minnesota, Seattle makes 2 subs in the 69th minute, and they bring on Brad Smith and Kevin Leardom, and they take off Roldan and Nuhu. And then 6 minutes later, they score a goal, and they start working towards that comeback. Now, I don't believe that either Leardom or Smith had like a direct involvement in either of the goals, but it just makes you think that like once you take these guys off and put these other two guys on, all of a sudden you're scoring goals now. And I mean, they got 3 in the last 20-ish minutes of the game. And then you go back to the guys that played 70 minutes and couldn't help you do anything besides let up goals. So I just think it was a questionable choice to put them back out there, but maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe there was like fitness problems or something as to why they weren't starting.
The Svensson issue was that he was coming off of a knock and trying to get back to fitness, which I understand. And João Paulo, Christian Roldan is not a bad combo in the midfield. I'm not knocking that at all. It just seemed like they were too late to wake up and play. Right, that first goal shocked them. Fry had to come up big right before that too, so they weren't expecting Columbus to pressure them as much as they did. And then that first goal goes in. You saw exactly what happened after they went against Minnesota, right? They came back and they pressed. And they couldn't get one. And that second goal goes in. And now you're thinking, oh, crap, here we go again. You can only get so lucky or so fortunate so many times that going down 2-0 is not something you should be expected to come back from. And they did it against Minnesota. It was wonderful and amazing. Not really. Up the loons. But you can't expect to go down 2-0 every game and then battle back to 3-2. I don't care how good your attacking lineup is. You just don't expect to come back from 2-0 every game. And that was the issue where I think they got complacent, thinking, oh, it's a weaker Columbus team. They came out flat. They got beat early. Zelarayan came out and balled out. MLS MVP or MLS Cup MVP, and no question about it. 2 goals and an assist absolutely ruined these guys. But yet you can't just come out, go down 2 goals, and you pointed out really well who got beat twice in two attacking plays. Alex Roldan. Alex Roldan got, once again, the crap kicked out of him. He got pulled off, and rightfully so, and this, that, and the other. But you can't just put out a team that isn't ready to play. And like I said, the biggest question mark was always around Roldan, and we can sit there and we can talk about it all day long. But end of the day, too many of them. It's not one person. One person doesn't make a team. Yeah, he got beat, but there are other ways to play around it. And I think the entirety of the crew team just wasn't up for it. The attacking front 3 probably felt a little too comfortable for their form that they were in, and they weren't focusing on how to hit the ball right, and that's why it was going up and over or wide. A lot of frustration built in after you go down 2-0 and you don't get that first one back. Start hitting people, right? Brad Smith coming in late, 4 minutes he goes on the field, right? And it's the little things that show the difference between a team that is in complete control and a team that is expecting to be good. Does that make sense, right? So instead of knowing you're good and going out and doing the things over and over to be good, a team that expects to be good because they've been there the last 3 or 4 times. They have won twice, right? They've won twice, been there 3 times. This is now the 4th time that they're here in the last 5 years. They expect to be here. But the biggest thing that I was always told when I was in these big games is don't play like you expect to be here. Earn your spot, earn every minute you have on that field, because the second you get complacent and say, I'm good enough to be here, that's when you get beat. If you sit there and think that everything should be given to you just because you got to a certain point, that's where you get beat. And I think that's what happened with Seattle, is that they got too comfortable being there, and they thought it was going to be a walk in the park, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a segue here. Someone who did certainly earn all of their transfer fee in one game was Lucas Zelarayan, who was, I mean, do I dare say perfect last night?
I'd say damn near close enough.
Yeah, I mean, he was phenomenal. I mean, this is the guy that at the start of the year, this is what you were expecting. This is the guy that you expected to tear up this league and dominate. And while he still definitely had a good season, it, to me at least, it felt like a little bit of I was still waiting to see this type of player. But then last night is exactly the player that I was expecting at the start of the season. I mean, he balled out. I mean, he needed to step up if they were going to be without Santos and Nagby, and he certainly did. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of the guys around him stepped up as well. They were fantastic as a team. They played, like I said, probably their best game all season. But he was just the focal point, like he was supposed to be at the start of the season, and he delivered in a big way. And I think even if he like flops every year from now on, I almost feel like he's just made his money worth. He made the money worthwhile just with last night.
It must have been no more than 4 minutes after you said on our video call yesterday that Zelarayan has been underwhelming, that he went and hit that volley and then just started pulling all the strings.
Yeah.
And as anybody who watches this podcast religiously knows, negative reinforcement is always the answer, or the reverse jinx, as we call it. As long as you say something bad, something good will happen, which is why Red Bull are awful and will never win an MLS Cup in their entire existence.
Yeah. And I mean, underwhelming is like it's a harsh word to use on him because he still had like a good year. It's just I expected him to be like at MVP level, like at the start.
You expected him to be Miguel Almiron. He came in and was Pity Martinez. A better Pity Martinez.
He was better than Pete. I was gonna say that's a little harsh on him. He was definitely better than,
right? In comparison to what you're expecting.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. But he's definitely, I mean, I think that's a sign of things to come for him. I think he's gonna just be fantastic next year.
Mm-hmm. And now another question that got brought up was, we actually brought this up a while ago, is do you need a big DP to make a big difference, right? And I was thinking about this when I put out like the final tweet, or the like congratulations tweet, is a team that finished in 20th of 24 teams last year just won MLS Cup this year. And we talk about, do you need to make one big signing to you need to make one big signing to win something? Does one person make a team? And this doesn't necessarily fit that narrative because they brought in a whole bunch of people, right? They brought in DEJ, they brought in Zelarayan, they brought in Nagby, they brought in Room. You know, there are a lot of people who came in halfway through last season, needed time to gel. But I think it definitely knocks back the notion that you can build from within and you don't need to surround your young players with talented, big name signings, big money signings. And I think that again, and this comes from a bit of personal hurt, but if you're going to be a team, that doesn't want to spend big on players, that doesn't want to go in and pay to win, and you just want to take all your youth players, develop them, and sell them on like you're playing FIFA career mode, you will not experience success because you can't turn the difficulty rating to beginner. It just doesn't work that way. And it's frustrating to see because Red Bull have always been one player away or one play away, right? We talk about that 2018 squad where we were one play away. We were a Tyler Adams slip at midfield away from moving on to the final of the Champions League. We were a coaching decision injury away from beating Atlanta and moving on in that game to MLS Cup final. it was always one player away because we needed somebody to score the goals. We needed somebody to defend something. We needed somebody to pick us up when we were down, right? When we get into those big moments, we didn't have the people to step into that role. We had players who were very good in regular season, very good when, and I'll use the term loosely, but the pressure is off, right? When you're not playing with these big players, you're not playing with the best of the best, you're not playing for a cup, you are very good. But the second that cup comes into play, you get very sketchy. And we don't have one of those. We don't have a big name, big moment guy. And we never went out and got one. And now we're relying on the Brian Whites and the Tom Barlows and the Sean Davises and the Jason Pendants and the Ryan Meras of the world, which love each and every one of them, bet they're great individuals and bet they're, they're all young, right? And I'm not saying that they're bad, and I'm saying they've got very good potential. But the issue is we need an impact player now. And this has gotten into a Red Bull rant, which I try to avoid, but never can. But again, wrapping it all back, it ties into this idea that you can just build from within and win. You need to go out and spend money.
Yeah, I think you guys really do need like that star guy on the team. And I know you guys have tried you haven't tried too much. You tried like a couple times over the last 5 years, like Verón and Kaku, but nobody's really stuck the landing as well as you would hope.
The issue is we are now looking young DP only, which isn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to get somebody at this point who is now in their prime, because we are an original 10 team. We have a lot of expectation to win now, and a player coming from Argentina or Brazil or Uruguay or any of the places where we've seen a lot of these young high potential talents come from are going to need time to fit into a system that isn't seen a lot of other places in the world. When you take time to fit into a system, you have the pressure now on your back to say you need to fit into the system and you need to succeed now. So you're learning and trying to win, but learning comes with failure. And if you fail, people don't like you, and then it's a whole bunch of stuff. And this is why Kaku wants to leave. It's a very catch-22 situation, which is why we need somebody who has experience in these big type of games to go out and do something.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you can't find someone like that. I mean, you can grab someone obviously this is up to the management on the team, but you guys can grab someone that's like around PT's age. He's a guy that has played in big games, not necessarily in MLS, but he's played in big games in South America. And you have to, there is still sell-on value for those guys. They're not 30 years old. You're not grabbing a Carlos Vela that you're hoping will tear up but not have resale value. You're grabbing a guy that's like 25. He's been around for a little bit. He has some experience so that he can deal with some of these situations. But he's also a guy that's young enough that you can resell and make money on, which I feel like is a big priority for the Red Bull team.
Red Bull has come out and openly said the only thing they care about is making money off of our young players. We are just a feeder system to the bigger boys, and it's time to get used to it. And like I said, if Red Bull were to pull out right now, wouldn't necessarily kill me so long as we have somebody to come in and save us. I don't want to see, because what are they doing really for us outside of giving us a stadium, right? They're not buying players for us. They're loaning us players who are never going to succeed anyway, that we're going to use for 4 games and then send them right back. There are all of these things that you would expect a parent club to do for you. Look, NYC and Man City, right? They got Yangel Herrera. They got, in their first year, they got Shea Facey. They've got Mix Discarute. They got David Villa. They got all these big name players. Now they're looking and they've got players who are being pulled from all over the place. Matritsu, Tanner Holm, all these players who, again, not necessarily big names, but they're going out and getting the right people. while we're sitting here and saying, man, you better get a good guy in the draft so we can take him over to Europe later. And that is why I don't think a lot of people care if Red Bull back out anymore. Now, there are a few obviously logistic things that we need to worry about, and that's for another episode, another time. But as from the viewpoint of a club owner who has big European ties and big money, they don't care enough about us. This got very off MLS final.
I was literally just thinking that. I was like, we really segued away from that.
Oh, man. But it was a conversation, right? The conversation was, do you need to spend big money on a big-name DP? And we actually looked at the list of the last 6 or 7 MLS Cup winners and even the MLS Cup finalists. Every one of them had at least 2 big-name DP signings.
Yeah. And these guys may not necessarily be the ones that drive you to the playoffs, but they're the guys that step up in the playoffs and get you across the finish line.
Exactly, and that's the difference.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that Zelarayán was the driving force behind Columbus making the playoffs. I almost think that was more Pedro Santos. But when it came down to the moments where you needed to step up, especially now that it's one-off games and not 2 legs, I mean, he stepped up when he needed to, and he was magnificent.
Yeah, and that's it. And again, to avoid going back to the Red Bull rabbit hole, that is always what we were missing. We had players who could perform 27 goals a season, but when it came one-on-one, open net, he hits the post. And I love BWP to death. I do. But from a pure fan standpoint who saw what the team needed and what we didn't have, a finisher in the playoffs is something we needed and didn't have. And we didn't have any depth because we relied on BWP every year. All right.
Yeah. All right.
I can't go Red Bull anymore.
All right. How about we talk about Aiden Morris? Because he, I think, just reinforces the fact that you got to play your kids, because he was amazing last night.
What it reinforces is you need to play your kids next to big name signings who can perform. Aiden Morris was fantastic. Do not get me wrong. If you played that game with 10 other Aiden Morrises, you'd lose that game, right? Because that's what Red Bull tried to do. Red Bull tried and take everybody from there. All right, I'm going to not try and reference Red Bull anymore. But let's look FC Dallas. FC Dallas do the same thing. I don't know anybody who plays for FC Dallas. Do you?
Yes,
No,
I know plenty.
Because FC Dallas doesn't exist. But we know that FC Dallas has a good youth system. They had Reggie Cannon. Reggie Cannon gets sold. Brian Reynolds slides right in. In 3 months, Brian Reynolds now has looks from Juve, Madrid, Barca, and I think it's Bayern or Dortmund. Like those 4 clubs. He's played for 3 months. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying kids can't play. But you need to have a better balance because, again, Dallas is doing the same thing. They don't have these big-name signings that are coming in and changing the world. And they're finishing in the same spot Red Bull are and doing the same thing in the playoffs. It doesn't make sense to try and win a league while everybody else is now spending. This mindset and this model may have worked early when you had Josie Altidores and Tim Howards coming up when you were playing against a bunch of guys who just came out of the dentist office. And they were now halftime pros, right? But when you've got teams who are buying $7 million figures, who are dancing circles around your center mids, you need to start investing with them or you will fall behind.
Yeah, I mean, that's just – you can look at the progression of the league over the last 5 years. This isn't a league anymore where Chris Wondolowski is scoring 20 goals a season and being the top goal scorer of all time. This is a league now where you're grabbing the best talent across the Americas. I mean, it's at a point where you got to spend money to compete. You can't just rely on young guys coming through the college system or through your youth academy anymore.
I'd like you to check your privilege, sir. Chris Wondolowski has 5 goals in 19 games this season and 3 goals at MLS is back and 1 goal in the playoffs. He scored 9 goals this year. That man is 37 years old. How dare you disrespect the greatest goal scorer in MLS history?
And I'll further go on your point and ask, how many of those were penalties?
Oh, you want to bring the penalty argument up now?
Yes, because that's your favorite.
Probably like 4 of them. I'll be honest with you.
That's your favorite argument.
was my favorite argument when you say dumb stuff like, Josef is so good and better than BWP in 2018 when Josef scored 900 bloody penalties. I'll look up that stat in a little bit, but continue on with your words.
What
Oh
were we
my
talking
God,
about?
they said Wando retired.
Did they?
Transfer Market said Wando retired, but he's coming back. You know he has Polish citizenship.
Yeah, that makes sense. His last name is Wondolowski.
You know his market value in 2012 at age 29 was $2.2 million.
I wonder how high that was in the league. Like, is that possibly like one of the highest in the league?
At that point, probably.
Does this show it? I feel like this did.
It might.
Oh, here we go. I think I have it here. Okay, so Wando had 7 goals in the league. 2 of them were penalties out of 3 attempts. So he scored 5 without penalties.
Oh yeah, that's not too bad. He's a little fox in the box. Anyways, again, now we're getting off topic again. What were we on?
We need Adam to keep us on topic.
Yeah, Adam needs to yell at us because we do this all the time, and this is a reason we started this podcast, right? Was because we do this stuff all the time. It's just sit and talk crap like this, so we just go ahead and do it again.
Yeah, I don't have much more to say on the final.
I'd say I think we've exhausted it. I think, like I said, this game proved that big money signings step up when they need to. Playing your kids is important. Having an experienced coach is important. Those are the 3 things it showed, and getting complacent is dangerous in MLS. Yeah, I would say I'd say that's a pretty good breakdown. We could probably go on that for a long time on 1,800 other tangents, but let's take a look at some of the transfer roundup of today.
Yeah, today. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I just want to make sure it was today. I was going to say yesterday. So, a quick breakdown of the moves that happened today. Probably the biggest one, if we had to think of first of all, you know what Austin's abbreviation is in the league?
I would guess AFC.
ATX.
ATX?
I'm going to vomit. That's disgusting.
That's pretty bad.
That's really, really bad.
Where do you get ATX out of Austin FC?
Austin, Texas.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
All
but
right,
also, it makes no sense.
It doesn't. I hate it, and I hope they change it, or I'm going to boycott the league.
They're not going to change
and
it.
This podcast will die. Because as you know, if I'm not here, you can't do it because this is my podcast. You're just joining me, right? We've been through this.
I mean, we can replace you. We can get the other Barnacle.
Yes.
Or we can get Jason.
Jason probably better than me. The biggest transfer of the entire half-day window, Nashville and Atlanta swap an international roster spot for $175,000 in GAM. Biggest move. Nobody saw it. This happened like 4 times, and this is MLS in a nutshell, right? So if Atlanta's receiving another international roster spot, you have to think some move is in the making, which is exciting, and you have to think they value that person at more than $175,000.
Yeah.
At the same time,
that's their John Gallagher money right there. They basically just traded John Gallagher for an international spot.
Yeah. Next one up, Ben Sweat going from Miami to Austin. I think this is a great move. I think Ben Sweat was underutilized in the 3-back system at Miami, and I think he will flourish under Austin. Does Austin have a coach yet? Have we decided on a coach?
I don't know. I want to say I haven't heard anything. Josh Wolf.
Oh, I forgot Josh Wolf. That was a while ago. That was in 2019.
Yeah, and Claudio Reyna is their sporting director.
Claudio Reyna is the sporting director. He'll do very well. That he put together NYC. Josh Wolf is an interesting one. Josh Wolf, obviously a player in MLS for a little bit, and then went over to Germany for a hot minute. U.S. men's national team standout, now head coach. He managed DC United as an assistant, Crew as an assistant, and he was the assistant on the men's national team in 2019, leading him to Austin FC. I'm interested to see how that works out. I know we haven't talked a lot about it, and I won't dive too far into it. Being an assistant all the way through does not necessarily mean you don't know how to be a head coach, but he's got a year off, and he's coming with a brand new team. So that can either mean that he's going to be able to put into practice whatever he wants to do right now, or he's going to have a really slow start and not necessarily get comfortable with what he's doing for just a little bit. I think Ben Sweat's a good – oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, yeah, we got to just wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm interested. I think it'll be – there's going to be a lot of light on him because of – I think if I'm watching this season, I'm watching him because Austin coming in with a bad rep already, right? Trying to go and steal Columbus away from Columbus. I feel like people have forgotten about that already, but Austin was supposed to be Columbus.
You would forget about it if Columbus didn't just win the title, and it's now saved the Crew instead of saved the Crew. So everyone was just reminded of what happened.
Yeah. So I think it'll be. I want to see how he builds his team. I want to see which approach he takes. Right, we talk a lot about the Atlanta versus the FCC versus now the Nashville. I think there's a third model for expansion now, and I think that's something we'll talk about in the near future. But you have the Atlanta where you're going big names, high potential, high turnover rate. FCC where it's bring in your entire USL squad. And then there's that Nashville where you take a lot of MLS-ready younger players and just play with them. I think that's a model that they're going to follow, which has shown success already, right? Austin also gets Ulysses Segura from DC United for $150,000 in GAM, which is interesting because DC just lost Felipe as well. So that's another center mid. He was injury-prone this season. But that's another center mid gone. So you have to think DC is probably moving on a midfielder at some point. But that's a good, solid point. He's a good holding mid for Austin, and will be a decent player to build around. He's not your big name center mid. You're gonna probably want to put something next to him. But not bad.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely serviceable players, but you gotta kind of just wait and see what happens, because I feel like we could have said similar things about the guys that like Miami brought in, and they didn't work out. So I'm still waiting to see what happens. I mean, I can't jump the gun and predict how they're going to be, but they're grabbing guys from teams that finished like rock bottom of the league this year. So
sure. That's
definitely not carrying good form into next year.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Interesting one here. Colorado gets the number 6 selection next year in this year's draft for $125K in GAM. Now, this is interesting because very rarely does a super draft pick work out, but a very certain Daryl Dike was picked right around that number 6 spot last year. So I'm wondering if they've got their eye on somebody like that. Colorado, we talked about having a lot of the pieces that they need, but who are they eyeing at 6? I don't know the college game well enough, especially because there wasn't a lot of college to watch this year. But something to keep an eye on as that draft nears closer. Portland receives $160,000. That's $10,000 more than Atlanta got for a 2021 international roster spot. So it makes it seem like New York City is looking to make a move. My guess is probably up top at striker because all their strikers are hurt and or sold. And then you got Tati.
Mm-hmm.
San Jose get the rights to New England's 4th round 2022 super draft pick. Big one here. For the MLS rights to John Bell. John Bell was drafted by San Jose, last year's 2nd round and never signed, and instead ended up with New England's USL side. So New England made a trade, giving up a very valuable 4th round pick. And and now have John Bell. They obviously see something in him. I would be lying if I said I knew anything about
At this size, that's such an American sports type of trade. That
it. Yeah.
you're trading your fourth round draft pick to get a player. I mean, you don't see that anywhere else in the world. You can't get that anywhere else. So if this is what you enjoy, then this is the league for you.
This is what you're looking at. Another move for Austin. Austin gets John Gallagher from Atlanta for $175,000 in general allocation money. Performance-based incentives that could go up another $50,000. We talked a little bit about John Gallagher. I think John Gallagher's got a high ceiling. I know you were kind of iffy on him. I think this is going to be a very Tyler Miller to LAFC move. Not a lot to see from him. In Atlanta, sitting behind Mr. Martinez, but I think going to a place where you can get regular minutes, regular starting minutes, with a team built around him for him, if that's the way they're going to go with it, I think he can flourish very well there. Your thoughts on losing your boy John?
Yeah, I was looking on Twitter and noticed a lot of people were kind of, at least a lot of Atlanta fans were kind of upset with the move. But honestly, for me, I'm totally all on board for it because he's most likely going to not get that much game time once Yosef's back. And we don't know who they're going to bring in the offseason, but I imagine they're going to try to rebuild the team a lot. I think he would be bench depth at best. And I just don't think that's what he should be. I don't think that's a role that he should be playing at this point in his career. I mean, he's starting to get to like the beginning of his peak years of his career. And he's coming off a pretty like good year for him. I think that they sold high on him. But I'm just like you said, I'm not totally sold on him yet just because he really never did anything before this year, and then we have a really bad year. He comes in and he starts to perform pretty decently well. But you got to say, like, somebody's got to score the goals for them. So in this case, I just feel like it happened to be him. And I think that obviously I could completely be wrong and he could play really well in Austin. And I think the move is right for him because he can get game time there. Whereas I don't think he would get game time in Atlanta. But I don't think that Atlanta necessarily did the wrong thing selling him here because he likely wasn't going to get a lot of game time, and his value is probably at his peak right now of where from his time that he's been with Atlanta. So I'm not complaining too much about the move.
Yeah. Like I said, I liked him. I thought I saw a lot of him when I watched him play. I thought I saw a lot of potential out of him, and I think he'll do very well heading over to Texas. Really, the only relevant team in Texas, if you think about
it. I would disagree, but that's okay.
All right, nobody cares. One more for Austin before their day was done. Julio Cascante, which I think is probably their best move so far, is going to Austin from Portland, who get $250,000 in GAM. That could go up to another $50,000 with performance-based incentives. I think this is a great start for their defense. Ben Sweat, excuse me. Ooh, Ben Sweat out on the wing. Julio Cascante right in the middle. He was very serviceable for Portland. Always a solid choice for them as their center backs were rotating throughout the year. I think he is a good addition for them and is a good starting point for the center back line there. Their goalkeeper is going to be the biggest choice, and I wouldn't be shocked depending on what the protected list is for the expansion draft, that they don't go and try and pull a Tyler Miller out of there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure at least one serviceable goalkeeper is going to be unprotected. And
yeah,
it's just a question of, do they want to grab that or do they want to spend some money to get like a Gillespie or to get a Room?
Right, and that's going to be the decision of where do you want to spend that extra money, right? LAFC get Marco Farfan from Portland as well. Portland to get $300,000 in GAM. That's the biggest move on paper on the paper here at least. Marco Farfan, an outside back, which is an area that we highlighted. Oh, that was loud. An area that I'm trying to find there's one post I wanted to find because I think there's one more transfer I want to talk about that I think
pretty big one that we should.
Yeah, I think it isn't listed here. There
I have. Yeah, you found it.
Yep. So Marco Farfan, we talked about LAFC's outside backs being suspect at best, and kind of questioning the Andy Nahar move after they let him go, being as promising as he was. This is the reason why. Marco Farfan, new USMNT call-up, definitely has high potential. Something that they can build off of out there for a rather disappointing defensive year for the football club from LA.
Yeah, I think it's a good move for them. Obviously, it's a guy that we said they need to get, not necessarily him, but in a position that they needed to get, because I would say their biggest letdown was not having the last year's MVP and current year's Defender of the Year. Probably does not help much, but they really looked like they were struggling in outside back, and this is a guy that can do a job for them he's young, he could do it for a long time. So I like the move. I think it's a good one, and we'll just have to see what happens, but
sure. And I think
it's worth a shot.
Yeah, I think Bob Bradley has something in mind for him, because he's very good at developing talent and understanding when he sees a player to make better, and I think he'll fit that mold nicely. Final trade listed here, and then we'll bring up the one that isn't listed for whatever reason. Minnesota get Callum Montgomery, defender out of Dallas. Never heard of him.
Don't you start with this again.
Dallas get a really good haul back for Callum Montgomery, a 4th round 2021 MLS Superdraft selection, and performance-based incentive $50,000 in GAM if he hits certain things. This is just a depth signing, I believe, for Minnesota. You have to assume that one of their defenders is probably on the way out, or they're not going to protect him, and they're afraid that he's going to get taken. So probably just a depth move there. The biggest one that isn't listed here is $500,000 worth of GAM going to San Jose for Nick Lima, the other side from Ben Sweat on the outside back. This is a great move by Claudio Reyna. We talked about it. Nick Lima, USMNT appearances, very good going forward, good service into the box, strong defender. Definitely somebody you can build a back line around. And when we talk about what you want to do as an expansion team, your biggest issue has always been leaking goals. Minnesota's first year, FCC's existence. Everybody who has issues as an expansion team has issues from the back up. So they're doing the right thing by going out and solidifying that first, and then the goals will come. You can work with anybody going forward. Where you struggle is trying to prevent things from going in the goal. And I think they're doing a really good job of creating a strong back line to start.
Yeah, I think that, and for me personally, I really like that move for them. I think he's a really good player and someone that can really be a good staple in their back line. I'm almost wondering why Seattle did the trade. I'm sorry, not Seattle. San Jose did the trade, because their back line was really bad, and now you just took out probably your best player in the back line.
Which is interesting, because Lima didn't get a lot of time there. I don't know why Almeida didn't rate him, but he didn't play a lot.
No, I thought he maybe.
I feel like every time I watched him, Nick Lima was coming off the bench.
He could have been. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's take a look.
Nick Lima last year, 17 appearances, 2 goals.
Yeah, I'm seeing on Who Scored it says he had 13. Let me see. Not 13, sorry. 22.
5 from MLS's back.
Okay.
So
I don't remember how many games they played.
But I think I think it was 30 games, give or take, 20 games. 23 games. It depends on who you were.
I see MLS has 19 games started, and he came on. He was a sub once.
Interesting. I feel like maybe he didn't finish out every
And maybe he got
game or
subbed
something.
off or something.
Yeah, because I just feel like every time I watched him, he was never there. Side note, top rumors on transfer market right now, Olivier Giroud from Chelsea to Inter Miami.
That would be a fantastic signing
That
for
would be
them.
disgusting. Stop it. Nick Lima to Austin. That gives them a back line of Cascante, Sweat, Lima. Segura sitting in front of them with Gallagher either on the wing or up top. It's a good start. It's a good foundation, and it's something that they can build upon.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see who they grab from the expansion draft, and that could really give an idea of where they're going to go with this team and like what holes are still missing. Maybe those will be the places they want to spend money on, or I would assume that's the places they would spend money on.
Yep. Yeah, everything on these latest transfers. Oh, Luca Lewis to Red Bull. That's, I think he's a Port. My buddy said he played with him in Port Washington, before he moved to Torino. Yeah, he got an IMG scholarship and then moved to Torino. Worked his way up to Torino's. There was no use for him anymore. He went to Red Bull too. Now I wonder if he'll be the starting goalkeeper. I wonder if they let like a Ryan Mera go unprotected or something. That's for the future. We're not going to talk Red Bull anymore. Any other thoughts on the deadline transfers and the lack of moves Red Bull made because they have no ambition?
Nope, nothing else to say. Shall we move to your season end awards before you go on another Red Bull tangent?
Just figured we'd ask around a little bit and different from what we would usually expect, right? We know who the player of the year is. We know who all these things. We're gonna switch it up a little bit. Who is your most disappointing player this year? Who disappointed you the most? And I would say try and stay away from team like your team. Stay away from Atlanta because we could easily go in and say like,
Barco.
Yeah, or somebody like that. Let's see if we can think of somebody outside of that. I've already got one on my mind, but I've really got two, but I'll let you go first.
Okay. Yeah, I want to pick a guy that definitely played this season. I don't want to be like, oh, Carlos Vela was the most disappointing because he didn't play. I don't think that's fair to him. But I mean, off the bat, I'm thinking Chicharito already, but I want to stray away from going for him. If you have someone in mind, why don't you go ahead while I continue to look?
The reason I asked is because I did have somebody in mind. My two that stood out to me. Gonzalo Higuain for $9 million scored one goal all year. And Blaise Matuidi looked like not a shell of what he should have been in that midfield. Granted, he might not have been surrounded by the player, but those two are my most disappointing. Chicharito is up there too, but I had somebody tell me that Gonzalo Higuain was scoring 30 goals in 15 games this year, and he scored one. So I just had to bring that up that he was extremely disappointing.
Yeah, but he probably tried his hardest, and that's what matters.
I mean, yeah, listen, if you ask my U14 girls team, as long as you tried, that's all they care about. Everybody gets a high five at the end.
Man, I'm trying to look at some of the teams that finished poorly in the standings and just
pick from there.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's really. Edison Flores is a name that I'm thinking about. Man.
Interesting. I like the Edison Flores shout. I know we talked about him too.
Yeah, it's hard though because it's not like a guy that's performed here in the past and then just fell off. Like, he was new to the league, so.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know who I want to go with? Jurgen Locadia.
That's a good shout. I think he
was super disappointing this year, and it may not have 100% been his fault. Like I don't think that he was used very well. but nonetheless, I completely expected to see more from him this year.
You know who else I expected to see more out of?
Actually, say,
Brian Rodriguez, who has like a 15 million transfer on the table to Europe, who scored 1 goal all year.
I don't know. Did he really only score? I feel like he was hot at one point.
He has the same goals as Jake Mulroney. Just
God.
understand that comparison.
Maybe he's like a Bernardo Silva type. Just does more outside of scoring goals.
Are we gonna have that conversation again?
Who scored has him down as 3 goals, 6 assists in 17 appearances. Or
Really?
sorry, in 20 appearances.
Interesting.
Which, I mean, yes, for the price, for the transfer fee, it's a little underwhelming, but he's also only like 20 years old.
Yeah, but
I think it would be harsh to call him the most underwhelming player.
I'm not saying most underwhelming. I'm just saying that he kind of was shocking to me in terms of like the fact that he still has those types of moves on the table. Tony Rocha has a goal this year. Sorry,
someone's gonna score.
I just like pointing out ridiculous stats.
All right, what's your next award?
I want to say like best draft pick, but not like best sleeper draft pick. You know, not like a DK or a players that were like in that conversation, but who would have been your next up?
Okay, let me look at the list of people that were drafted.
Because I have mine. Like I said, if you have one that comes off the top of your head, like in terms of awards, go ahead and do it. I've got like a list of people I'm thinking of, so I can like just say, oh, this is mine. For me, it's Henry Kessler, center back for New England. I think he started every game that he played in. He was the 4th overall pick, but nobody really hyped him up because he was a center back from New England. But I thought he was phenomenal. He came in and he slotted right in, no problem whatsoever. And he just looked really comfortable on the ball all the time. And he was a big part of Bruce Arena's just entire game. They played a lot through him. He carried the ball forward a lot. And I'm excited to see what comes of him in 2021.
I always struggle with the super draft because I don't recognize like any of these names. Boy, which ones are you? I recognize Nkosi.
Nkosi Burgess, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, DK has to be the standout guy.
I don't know. I guess now we're just chatting.
Maybe, man, I don't know how much. I feel like I remember Adam talking about Dylan Nealis.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he did anything, that great this year. I'll go Pat Segrist just to annoy you.
I expected more to Jack Mayer too, but when Walker Zimmerman gets traded for and you're now like the 3rd center back on the list, if a team is going to draft you, then drive to your house and say, "What's up, man? Welcome to the team."
God!
And then you play 3 games all year. Kind of underwhelming, right?
That was just when they came to his house.
I remember.
I remember when we were watching that. That was hard to watch. Oh, all right. What's next?
Oh, I want you to pick one out.
Okay. Let's go most surprising game result this season. What was the most surprising? Just one game. Doesn't have to necessarily be an important one.
Most surprising game.
Yeah.
So not result, but just.
No, just like result. Like what was the most surprising result that we saw this year?
It's a good one.
It doesn't even have to be an important game. It could be just
Yeah.
completely meaningless.
Let me look up. Oh, it has to be one of the 7-0s that San Jose got dropped on like 4 times that we analyzed 9 different times. I'd say that was probably up there just because it's so abnormal the way that they were playing man-to-man press, and it worked once on one team that hadn't played in 4 months, and then they're like, yes, this is the way to win. And then they get torched every other game. Yeah. I'm going to go the one against Seattle specifically because that's when we started breaking it down a little bit.
I am gonna go with it was FC Cincinnati beating Columbus Crew. Your MLS
And the FCC
champions,
win.
your MLS Cup champions lost to the worst team in the league.
And that's why we love you, MLS. And that's why MLS Cup doesn't actually matter because it doesn't tell you who's the best team. It just tells you who got hot at the right moment.
Listen, and this season, MLS Cup has a little bit more meaning.
No, and that's where I was going to segue to was this season. I will put MLS Cup for the one and only time. I will put MLS Cup above Supporters Shield. And
until you guys win MLS Cup, and then it flips.
I'm glad you finally started listening to what I have to say, and you understand my mindset. That makes me happy. I've got one favorite game, not like result or surprising result. What was your favorite game to watch?
Oh, that's easy for me. That's the Philly LAFC game from the beginning of the year.
Oh, really? See,
yeah, that game was so fun to watch.
Oh man, I was getting ready for that was like my first 2 weeks of work. I was still trying to get used to like the whole schedule of it. I didn't watch that game.
You missed out. That was
I know I did.
Insane game.
Yeah, for me it was the penalty shootout. The penalty shootout was absurd.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I mean, how do you? But the thing is, it's like the penalty shootout was good for like the 30 minutes of the actual penalty shootout, but otherwise the game was really like not exciting.
Yeah.
But the LAFC Philly one was like that was exciting. It felt exciting from start to finish. I mean, they were just no defense. We're just gonna send everything both directions, and it had an absolute banging goal.
All right, one more, and then we'll call it. Unless you've got one. You got one first?
No, I don't got one.
All right. Player to watch for next year. So not like who's going to get transferred in and be the next player from this year who maybe underperformed and you want to see more out of next year. I'm trying to pick a team that I want to.
I had a guy in mind, but then you mentioned underperforming because I don't think this guy.
Maybe not underperforming. Let's say just person to watch first, and then person who underperformed you want to see better next year.
Okay. Person to watch for me, Emmanuel Reynoso.
Nice.
I think he could be explosive next year, and I think we got a taste of that in the playoffs of what he can do. And,
person to watch for me, just plain out, is Robert Beric with players around him. He scored 11 goals this year with no back line to clean anything out. So watch him next year with a team that hopefully will be able to keep balls out of the net, and you'll see Nemanja Nikolic numbers next year.
Yeah, and then I mean, he put up good numbers this year.
Oh, he put up great numbers this year, but it was balanced. It was kind of outweighed by the fact that his team couldn't keep a ball out of the net.
True.
Underperformed or didn't get to see enough of, and you want to watch for more next year.
All right, I'm looking.
Okay. While you look, I've got 2.
Okay, go for it.
I've got 3. I've got Alan Pulido and Luis Amarilla in Sporting and Minnesota. Both of them big money signings who didn't get a lot of time this year. The other one is Robbie Robinson in Inter Miami. I think he got hurt. They brought in the big names. They were afraid to play him over the big names or next to the big names or whatever. And he's going to have more people come in and play around him. And he'll have a whole season to get used to actually playing. So I'm excited to see what he can do because I think he's got a lot of potential. He just has to expand on it, right?
I was thinking about him, but I wasn't sure if he was going to play with Gonzalo there.
Oh, Gonzalo's lucky if he runs 15 feet over the next 4 years.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter what we think.
The
He's the
lazy
big name
bum.
signing. They'll probably feel like they have to play him.
The lazy bum.
All right, one guy, I don't necessarily know if he's going to be better, but one guy that I'm hoping to be better next year, Yuya Kubo.
Yes. Everybody on FCC hoping to be better. So Adam can stop talking.
Not
Yes.
exactly like they can get worse, but
Yeah.
yeah, I thought he would be a more influential player this year, but I don't want to fully blame him because he has no help around him. But maybe they'll make some good moves in the offseason and then we can actually see Yuya Kubo go to work.
More good moves? Like the 7 that they made last year that didn't do anything?
Yeah, but those were bad moves. We need good
They
moves.
weren't. They were good on paper. Anyways.
Were they?
Anyways.
What was the good move on paper that they did?
Yuya Kubo was a great move.
But
On
it's got to
paper
be people
because they
other
had
than him.
they had CM De Jong in the middle. Everything was supposed to work out, and they decided, you know what, CM, you're cut. Not gonna play you anymore because Jaap Stam is a confusing individual. Anyway, in lieu of question of the day, I come up with quote of the day on the whiteboard. Where is it? Other way. There it is. Red Bull makes, the world takes. Why do I choose this particular quote? Derek Etienne Jr. smacking up. Derek Etienne Jr. goes out and is upset. I'll use the term upset that Red Bull let him go. And just, I believe he put up a tweet that says, just wait or something like that. You'll see. And man goes in and scores a game. And this was like before the season started. And man goes in and scores a goal in the MLS Cup final and gets himself a hardware. Really happy for you, DJ. Well done. I'd say come on back. We miss you, but I wouldn't come back if I were you. Not in the state of this team. You got a quote? You wanna put a quote out there?
I don't have a quote, but I do have another player that I'm going to be looking for next year. And
Caden Clark.
What'd you say? Oh, well, actually, that's not a bad shout.
I'm watching. I will just kind of said about Red Bull. I'm like, yes, Caden Clark as well. Watch Caden Clark. He's going to be the young player of the year, MVP, top scorer, top assist maker, best goalkeeper, probably. I don't know.
I think he can have his like a Brendan Aronson type year, but
Yeah, for sure.
that's not who I was talking about. I was thinking Cadiz from Nashville.
Yes, John Cadiz.
Yeah, because he didn't play the whole season. He came in halfway,
and he was dirty. He was really good.
So I will be excited to see what he can do in a full season.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's my quote of the day.
Yonder. Yeah. By yonder. So you do something like by yonder window. What's that quote? That Shakespeare quote?
I already don't like where this is going. I'm going to stop the recording before you finish this.
Through yonder window breaks, but it's not yonder, it's jonder. And it's but soft, what light through yonder window breaks. It is the east, and Nashville is the sun.
Adam, yes. Please come back. Please come back, Adam.
Everybody needs to come with a quote. Next season, everybody comes with a quote. It has to be Shakespeare themed. Oh, goodness.
It has to be a Shakespeare MLS mashup.
Oh, we need to stop this. We're gonna.
Oh yeah, we need to
Adam,
stop.
this is what Adam misses when he doesn't join us.
This is why he doesn't come anymore.
All right, guys. Like I said, we got one more episode for the season coming up. Big MLS 2020 quiz. We're all going to come with about 10-ish questions and put it out there and see who gets the most questions right. Just a big, fun kind of wrap up the season type of thing. We'll talk a little bit of CONCACAF as well if teams are still in it. I don't know, probably not. But next season, we've got a lot of really big plans coming up. Including live streams. Anybody who's seen the kickoff, True Geordie's the kickoff, we're going to try and do something like that. every Sunday, maybe other, whatever the schedule works out to be. We'll still do our normal episodes as well. Adam's got some ideas. Connor's got some Shakespeare quotes to bring in. It's going to be great.
I got more scarves. That's what I got.
He's got more scarves. I'm going to pick up some more scarves. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be good. Make sure you're following us on all forms of social media to keep up during the off season. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Go search the Designated Players Podcast. We will pop up. Go ahead, follow us anywhere you get your podcasts. When our last few episodes go live for the season. And other than that, Connor, you got any other quotes you want to share?
No quotes.
But soft breeze
Nope.
on your window breaks.
Nope. That's it. All right. Bye.
All right. Bye, guys. See ya.
Oh, that's not how you stop the recording. How do you do this? Oh, here it is.